Hello again, I am Jim Bob and welcome back to episode 3 of our little special project city. I haven't quite decided on a name yet. I'm thinking perhaps No Limit City because everything is unlocked. Everything is unlimited. We have no money worries. Everything we need is already unlocked. We don't have to go through the process of building and building and building to unlock different things. It's all done. So I'm thinking maybe No Limit City, Unlimited City. I don't know yet. We'll still keep calling it Special Project for now, but let me know your thoughts in the comments if you have suggestions. I'd love to hear from you. So, what has changed since you were last here? Well, the biggest change is this. At least visually, the biggest change is that. This area over here. We started expanding on this side a little bit and started doing some things with the train lines, but there's actually a lot more that's happened than that. So let's bring you up to speed. I'm actually going to start here back at the beginning at the docks because I have made a bit of a change over here. So the road network around here has changed a little bit, as you can see. Whereas we had these three kind of little blocks like this, one for each dock, that has now changed, as you can see. It just makes the traffic flow a little bit easier, and I've actually shortened this little bit of freeway just a little bit as well, not by a lot but enough just to make a little bit of a difference. And then I've done a bit of terraforming as well, and as you can see, what I have also done is I've added in some industry buildings all the way along here. It's a nice long one-way road all the way along there, and then it spits out to a ramp just here or back onto the kind of freeway just there. So I was finding that even before I put that in, I was having some issues with this junction clogging up periodically, causing massive tailbacks all the way up here. It's to be expected when you've got a lot of different traffic trying to use the same junction for different reasons. So I figured, how can I help alleviate some of that traffic pressure a little bit? Well, I got rid of the dumping grounds for our trash. So these landfill sites, there were 4 there, they're gone. They were in this lower space just here, 2 by 2 in this block right in front of us, and then I had these incinerators up here, and there were 4 of them. I've got rid of 1, there's only 3 now, and I brought them down to this level here, and then I've used the space that's been left behind to create this little entry-exit system into our industry zone. So this basically runs underground and then spits out there and goes there. So if I go into traffic views, or transport routes actually, that's there we go. So you can see those little underground routes. Very, very simple, very, very straightforward. I built them using standard road first of all, and once I was happy with the positioning, I then upgraded them to slip roads, because slip roads are faster. They're freeway speed, so it gets the traffic moving faster than if it's on standard road. And you'll see a difference in road speed, hopefully. Bit hard to actually do a side-by-side comparison. I suppose you can kind of judge it from here, maybe. Traffic that goes on standard road goes at a certain speed. Traffic that uses slip road is basically it's freeway. So it's like the speed boost you see when the vehicles then take off down there from here. It's the same thing, and it just makes it a more attractive route. It's more direct, it's faster. It's no faffing around with slower roads and lots of traffic light junctions. So it's a way to encourage traffic that needs to leave here and go to the docks to do that directly. And then also, on the other side, any traffic that comes off the docks and loops around and comes back up, instead of going up through the junction system along there and into the industrial estate that way, can now come off the freeway just here, like this pink truck's doing, and shortcuts straight into the industrial zone. It works out much more efficiently. And of course, with this extra bit here that we've added in, I've put a route there so that anything that comes from here that needs to go to the other industry zone can do that. and then if it needs to go back into the system, it can then just take the long route along the bottom, link up back up just here, and there's one thing I thought about doing, but it didn't make any difference. I thought about putting an underground connection so that traffic could come down here, go this way, and then if it needed to go to the docks, could cut across and come back up this way. But the traffic just didn't use it; it ignored it, and that's because of this merge that we have here, where we split our lines together, or split our roads apart, or join them together. You'll see, like that red van's just done, the traffic will come in, and it'll come off this corner here on the inside lane and just do a U-turn basically, and there's no way to prevent that with this kind of merge, unfortunately. Even if we put traffic lights or stop signs in there, it would still happen. So to prevent that, I'd have to change the whole road network completely, and there is no real way to stop it from happening without creating like a T-junction. That's about the only way it wouldn't happen. So they can see that blue van doing exactly the same. So I've just embraced it. I put the underground connection in to link the two off ramps and on ramps, and traffic ignored it because using that is quicker. Doing that little U-turn there, it's quicker, so the traffic will always take the quickest, easiest route, and that's it. So yeah, never mind. I just have to embrace it, go with it, and it is what it is. And to allow me to actually do this and put this double row in, I had to put a little bit of a kink in the freeway. So whereas it was beautifully straight all the way along there, in a long straight line all the way down to about here, you can see here, it gets to about this point here, and then it kinks and just moves across a bit and then runs like that. And that's just to give me the space to put in the second line. I already had enough space for the road and for this row of buildings, but to double it up and put this row of buildings in here, I needed to just tweak the highway a little bit. So I did. I just moved it ever so slightly, as you can see, just to allow me to put that second row of buildings in a nice, clean, uniform way, rather than having it sort of cutting across from here, cutting into this area like this, and then kind of merging off that way. Just a simple, subtle little change in the direction, and gives me a lot more buildable space like that. Oh, we've got a big fire. Oh, there go all my trees and half the farm. Fire engines are starting to rush up and respond. I'm sure the helicopters might well make an appearance. In fact, yeah, you can see lots of flashing lights in the sky. Here come the helicopters. My drone army on its way to try and put out the fire. Nothing should burn down. We'll lose all the trees, but we're going to lose all these trees as well. You can see just how quickly the fire spreads. It just literally just goes through the whole lot instantly. It's insane how fast it happens, but kind of realistic at the same time, I suppose. You do get these wildfires that just spread and spread and spread, and of course any buildings that are nearby instantly catch as well. So expect this house to burn in a minute, unless the fire burns out quickly enough. Might well see some of these houses go on the edge. Obviously the stables are on fire, they're being worked on. You can see this stream of fire engines running up and down to try and deal with the blaze. There's not much they can really do about the trees. Oh, there we go, look, the house has just caught. I knew it would. And that building's gone, which means there's a chance that the next building might go. And the buildings will be saved. I have no doubt about that. Are they actually putting out? No, these are all queuing. They're all queuing to get into the farm. So the farm will be saved. It's just, we'll have to wait for all the trees to grow back. But, yeah, when you get a big fire like that, it decimates the entire area. That's the problem with putting in lovely scenic areas of trees like that. Is they all burn down. When one goes, the whole lot go. And if you're not careful, so do half the buildings in the area as well. Never mind. Where was I? Distracted. Oh yes, other changes that we've made. So that was a big change over here. The change to the industry there, especially with this as well, the underground bypass like that. And that's not the first underground thing that I've done. You'll see something else in a moment as well. Moving around here, this is all exactly the same until we get to here. I've connected up a new railway line. So I've done some more terraforming and just made a little extension on the side here, much as we did over here. You can see that sort of sandy coloured ground there. That's all stuff that we brought up from the seabed and brought up to put a little extension on, just to extend the area slightly. I'm trying to remember why I did that now, if there was a specific reason. Oh yeah, I needed to use up some soil. I had a surplus of soil, I needed to use some up, so I just built that little area with that surplus soil. This one was done with a purpose. This one was done to fit the train line on the end. I wanted to put a station to feed this kind of area over here, and I didn't want to rip up half of what I built to stick a station in the middle of it, so I stuck it on the end of it with a bit of terraforming like this. And then I built a little horseshoe-ish kind of loop along the edge. And what I've actually done is I've dropped the road in, put the station against it, took the road out, and then moved it back one block, and then put the road back in again. So you can see we have this very thin gap where the pavement and the concrete of the building don't quite line up properly. And that's because technically, even though they are connected, they're technically not connected. So if I wanted to, I could zone a couple of houses in just there. I could zone houses in just there in front of the station. And that's because I dropped the road back ever so slightly. Far enough to give me that one block space, but not so far that this doesn't register as being on the side of a railway, on the side of a road, and therefore becomes unusable. And what that allows me to do is to stick in one of these taxi depots like that, right in front of the station, instead of having to delete, 4 of these sort of office blocks, or not office blocks, 4 of these commercial buildings here, and then have nothing behind them. I can actually just put it in front of the station like that. It's a very clever little thing that I picked up on, I think, when I was doing my very first city, Jimsville. I think I picked up on that in Jimsville. Didn't really do it very often, but I'm trying to implement it a bit more frequently in this. And what it also allows is to feed footpaths in for footbridges, things like that. And you'll see an example of that in a moment when we move to our new area. So this extension is not particularly wide. It's widest here, obviously, to accommodate the station itself. And then to try and prevent future noise complaints, I just made all these buildings just around the station, just here, commercial. And then we go back to residential as before. So there's a little bit of commercial on the edges and around here, just to keep the residents happy and stop them from complaining about noise by not sticking them right next to the station. And then this kind of just runs along, and you can see the area that's been brought up is obviously that sandy colour. The grass is the original. So it's not a particularly wide extension, just enough to be able to stick the train line on. And I've tried to keep it relatively flat along here, but the height is lower than the station. So there is a gradual climb, as you can see, just a gradual climb up there, as shallow as I could really get away with. Try to keep it relatively level along there. And then it goes through a little tunnel, and then it starts to climb around that corner and finishes climbing about there, and so that it gets on the same height as the station, so that the train will go in without any major issues. I'm really proud of this little tunnel here. It's a very simple little thing, but it looks really good. I really like it. It's just a very short little tunnel like that. So basically, we already had this kind of hillside here. I basically lowered the height of the hill a bit with a channel through terraforming, put the railway line into about here, and then created an underground connection. Had to delete the road here in this middle bit just there first. Had to take that out. So that piece and that piece were taken out. I might have taken that one out as well, but those two definitely were taken out. And then put the... let me rebuild it so I can show you. I just pause and take that out there. So we basically, I just created this little bit of a hillside like that, and then went into my railway line. And this is going to be much quicker and easier to do because there's one bit already in there. But instead of doing that, I just tabbed down and I just basically stretched it and tried to keep an eye on the angle of the track so that it looked relatively flat. Obviously that shows a going down visual, and it's very, very obvious. So if I build that like that, you can see at this edge of the tunnel, you can see it goes down and it just looks bad. And what I wanted was to create that illusion of the track staying at the same height while going into a tunnel and then coming out at the same height. So you kind of play about with it a little bit, and you kind of stretch it until you find a height that you're comfortable with. And obviously we've already got a connection there. And you can see that looks flat. It doesn't look like there's any elevation change in that at all. And then you go through on the other side and you repeat the same process. So you start here and you go in at an angle, or alternatively you can build to say about here, which is what I did. I built in to there, then put a little short piece on the edge, and then from there I basically came out and then just raised the track up, one block, and again you can see it comes out nice and straight. And once we'd done all that and got all that in place, all I had to do was just get my road back on freeform and just reconnect the road, and there we go. We've got this really nice little tunnel with the road going over the top of it, and that's as good as we can get it on consoles. We can't really get too much better than that. It's just, with the way the terraforming system works. So the road's a little lumpy and bumpy. I might possibly do a little bit of smoothing on that going forward, but I'll leave it for now. But that's how you create that kind of little tunnel effect. Simple, straightforward, but looks great, I think. And you're seeing the train disappearing in one end and almost instantly coming out the other end as well, like that. It just, it looks good. I like it. And then it just gradually climbs all the way around this bend. That was hard to do. That was a lot of fiddling with the terraforming, and there you can see part of that climb. And I tried to keep the climb as gradual as I possibly could, but I needed obviously to bring the height up to match the height of the station. So by this point it's now on station height, and then it just sweeps around the corner and rolls into the grand station just there. So there we go. That's the rail line that we added in just over there. Over here I'm still having issues with the reservoir. I have to keep turning these on and off and on and off. It just won't stay balanced. There are times when I need to have 3 of these turned off, times when I need 1 of them turned off, times when only 2 of them need to be turned off. It's tricky. I can't kind of just leave it as is and go away and never come back and check on it, because it will end up flooding. So I have to keep turning on or off the extra thing. I got rid of the second pump because that was just causing too many issues, and it's easier to manage like this. I can leave it for longer with just a single pump, and then I've got 6 outlet pumps underneath there, and then I could just toggle the level I need to either drain it or fill it back up again relatively quickly. So that water level will start to drop quite quickly, and I'll probably have to turn that third one that I just turned off back on again in a moment to start gradually bringing it back up again. But yeah, still playing around with the reservoir. It's something that needs continual tinkering on a part-time basis. So that is everything over there. That hasn't changed. You've already seen this area over here. Nothing has changed in here. There was a little bit of a change over here, which was basically to add more trees in. So all these trees here, which are now dead but growing back, none of these trees were here on the top side of the road. They're all new, and they're all dead, thanks to that fire. But that's pretty much the only change over there. I have made a few changes over here, very subtle little changes. So we had standard road coming up this hill over here. I've switched that out for freeway, just to make the traffic move a little bit faster. and that again may change going forward, but for now I left it like that. And then I put some asymmetrical roads in here around these junctions, just to try and create some lane management, because we don't have lane management available. And if you just put dual carriageway in, the traffic just stays in one lane and ignores the fact that they have 2 lanes available. It's frustrating. So doing this with the asymmetrical road creates dedicated lanes for turn-offs, and the traffic actually kind of uses them, and it's almost like lane management. It's just a shame we only have a 2-and-1 asymmetrical, just an asymmetrical 3-lane. I'd like to have an asymmetrical 5-lane road. That would be fantastic. Whether we'll get it or not is highly unlikely, I would say. But it's great that we do have at least this one, and you can see here that we do have dedicated lanes, and that the traffic does use those dedicated lanes. So here you can see our traffic is using those dedicated lanes for turn-offs and junctions the way they're supposed to. And so it's like having lane management without actually having lane management. But we can only do it on standard road like this. Anything wider than that, we can't. And the great thing is with this is it means that you can have a queue of traffic waiting to turn without impeding the flow of all the rest of the traffic. And like I said, if I had dual carriageway in, if I had this road in anywhere along here, the traffic would all just stick to one lane. It wouldn't use both lanes anyway, and so we'd still end up with those big queues all the way along. This helps alleviate and eliminate, in most cases, those queues. And now we're into our new area over here. So 3 separate districts: Birdsong Square, Ivy District, and Wood Park. We'll start with Wood Park. Wood Park is a mixture of 2 separate kind of areas. First off, we have on the left-hand side a little retail park, and then on the right-hand, the left-hand side is the retail park. On the right-hand side is a business park. So we've got the Mall of Moderation placeable just here. This is perfect as the centerpiece of a low-density commercial business, sort of shopping area. So this is the centerpiece of my little low-density shopping commercial zone over here, my little retail park. It looks great when surrounded by low-density buildings like this. Not quite so much when you stick it in a high-density zone. But there's a Mall of Splendor, which would be better suited for that, I suppose. And then just a few shops around the area, as you can see. Just a little kind of loop around here. And then I've got a couple of plazas in just here, and you can see I've also got a footpath in, which cuts through some trees, and then runs over to the sort of residential area, and also by the cemetery. So if you're in this part, you can actually walk straight to the to the retail park like that. And I might possibly put another footpath in. In fact, I probably will put another footpath in over here, connecting over there somewhere at some point. And then the other half, we go over to the other side of this sort of junction here. This is our business park. So this is just offices. Nothing special in here, nothing fancy, no custom assets or anything like that. It's just offices. And a nice little selection has popped up there, and we've got a nice small little business park just there. The roundabout, the centre of that has been raised ever so slightly with terraforming, so it's kind of almost dome shaped a little bit, a subtle dome, not an exaggerated dome. And then I just literally covered it with bushes, the large bush, and that's it. Just swarmed all over the side of that. And then I've tried to surround certain areas with trees to break up those blank empty spaces, but also to provide a nice scenic bit of relief as well. So we have our cemetery here, and I've surrounded it with trees like that as well, as you can see. And then also around our dog park over here, I've added trees around the edge of the dog park as well. And I like to line these footpaths with trees like that, so it feels almost like you're walking through nature rather than just a footpath through buildings. It just looks nicer to look at, I think, and certainly would be nicer to live around in real life. And then we have just a small little area over here. So everything this side of the railway line here, this is our second district. So this is the Ivy District just here. A nice sort of park here as a centerpiece, as you can see. Again, surrounded that park with some extra trees, just to provide a little bit of a backdrop against the buildings there, and not have just this big blank open space in between. It just looks a little bit nicer, I think. A small sort of mixture of roads that some stay relatively level, some climb a hill a little bit here, and then a big climb up the hill there as we go over the railway. And then over here, on this kind of split level here, this is where the railway is. I've tried to put a little bit of a sidewall to each side of the railway, as you can see. So I've just terraformed, put the railway in, and then just terraformed just to raise the terrain around the side of it ever so slightly on both sides. Tried to be subtle with it, not have these great big chasms. And then we just, yeah, basically have those little sidewalls there. Just helps, in real life it would help block some of the sound out, muffle some of the sound, and I've tried to replicate that a little bit where I can. As the train whizzes through. We also have a level crossing. Now these are absolutely brilliant. I love these, they're so much fun, and you can just about see, if I can position the camera when the next one comes through, even the lights work. So not only do the barriers come down, but you'll see the lights go on as well. No beacons or sirens or warnings that I've heard, but you will see the lights flash when the next train comes through. And of course, now we're not going to get a train coming through. Just sit here and wait for a second. One of them will come through in a moment. There we go. And there you can see the little red lights just flashed on. And you see we have a red train go through. That's an external train. I have also reconnected to the external connections. There we go. Barrier's going to go up. No, another train coming through. And another one. So it's like buses. Nothing happens, and then 4 trains whiz through all at once. And now we have a little bit of a queue as that train gets serviced before the red one can pull in. But you'll notice that the red lights will disappear in a second. It's really hard to tell, but they have just disappeared as the barrier goes up, and now everything can move again, and barriers come back down, red lights go on, train goes through. You get the picture. But it's just nice, it looks cool, and I've done it at a slanted angle like that just because I thought it looked kind of funky, and then surrounded the area with trees again just for a nice bit of scenery. So again, we have a dog park, and I've put some trees surrounding it, and then I've also kind of put trees in to line the railway a little bit, and then a footpath that runs along the back of these buildings and then spits out just there. And if we move a little bit further along, I've put in this bridge just here next to a park, which then goes over the railway, loops around, and because I've done the same thing over here where I put the road in, then the station connected to the road, then deleted the road, moved it a block away and put it back in again, it's enabled me to actually bring this footbridge down in front of part of the station, whereas I wouldn't normally be able to do that. It gives you more flexibility when it comes to placing bridges like this, because you've got more space to play about with, a bit more real estate that you can mess around with without having to have this big gap where there are no buildings, because you're making space for the bridge. And then again, we've got a taxi rank in front of the station because we have that 1 block line that runs all the way across there, which enables us to do that. So that's that area there. And then the other side of the railway is just a mixture of residential and commercial buildings. There's no services over here, there's no police, fire or education along here. It's just residences and shops. That's it. That may change. There's the odd park here and there, but it's essentially just houses and shops. And then of course that can go up over here and loop over the top there. You've seen that tunnel before. I went through that last time. So that's that area just there. I did change the colour of the trains to blue just because, well, blue is kind of a predominant colour with my channel logo. So it made sense to have trains in blue rather than green. And also, by putting them in different shades, it made it easier for me to identify the different trains rather than slightly different shades of green that all kind of look the same at first glance. And blue is a really strong contrast against the red, of the external trains as well. So that's why I made that little colour change. And you can see that we do have this little bridge that goes over the railway here as a second link into this, so we're not forcing traffic to come all the way through here, all the way along here, crossing over here and then out this way into this area. There's a second access point there, and we'll add more access points in the future. And then there's another one here, which is just a temporary connection, which runs down to our main sort of junction just here. So that's the main bulk of the changes that I've been working with. Has this stopped filling now? Yeah, you can see the water level has gone down a little bit. Not much, but enough to stop it from flooding. The other change is getting those external trains running. So how have I managed to do that, you might ask, considering there's no other connections visible? Well, I've tried to be a little bit sneaky, a little bit clever. If we start here, you'll notice that we have this little hill. So the train will come in, as will that one, and will just disappear. Magic trains. They've teleported. It's the same over here. This one was a little bit easier to do because we already had this hill here, so I just basically terraformed to stretch it out just a little bit and then create a little bit of a hill just there. It's a bit more natural than on the other end. And look at that, we've got a train just sneaking its way out from nowhere. Where did that come from? Well, it's very, very simple. If I go to transport routes, I basically created these underground connections. That's why I built those little hills, so I could hide the external connection. So we can keep the illusion, once these lines are rebuilt, we can keep the illusion of just a self-contained kind of railway line with no obvious underground connections, because to take a train all the way over to our other connections would have been really, really messy and awkward and horrible. But by hiding them like that and then bringing them underground, it doesn't look glaringly obvious that we've got this underground railway, which is the first thing. And secondly, it just enables me to bring them over at a nice... It doesn't matter whether they look good or not, because they're hidden underground. Like that is ridiculous. As it goes under the river, horrifically steep climb and decline. But it doesn't matter, it's hidden, it's underground. Unless I show it to you like this, you'll never ever see it. And it's the same over here as well. It doesn't matter what angle that goes in off. You see the steepness of that climb there, it's completely irrelevant because it's hidden. And then they both converge at this point, so that either of those train lines can then go to either of these two lines. So you can see there we've actually got a couple of trains coming off this way. See if they both go out the same way, or will the other one go off north? There we go. So you can see we have that kind of ability to route external trains wherever we need to, and go out in whichever direction they need to as well. So you can see that one was going to go straight on and go out that way over there. So that works really nicely. It's a way to get the freight trains rolling again, and also bring in the tourist trains from external connections. So that's how I did it, basically. I hid the access points under hills, and then connected to my main lines here under the hill, as we were talking about doing last time out. So that is pretty much, I think, where we are at the moment. I don't think I've missed anything off. Trying to remember. It's just a few little scenic tweaks I've made here and there, and then just added that new area and got the railway lines, you know, a bit more active and running a bit better. Still a ton more to do to get this city up and running, but I think that was enough for this particular session. So that's it from me. Thanks for watching. I am Jim Bob, and I'll be back with some more of our special project. No Limit City, maybe? Let me know in the comments. No Limit City, perhaps. Unlimited City. Give me your suggestions. I'd love to hear from you, and I'll be back with some more footage of our special project very soon.